Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. It is really great to be with you this evening for me, or this afternoon for you, or morning for you, wherever you are in the world. And today we have Diana Bernal with us. You can see some other community members there coming up in the next couple of weeks from Brazil and Argentina. And Diana is not usually in Miami, but tonight or this afternoon is coming in from Miami. And before we get Diana up on screen, I do have some messages from some community members. The first one from Gabriel, who just says, Diana is an exceptional professional, forward thinker and doer. She has the ability to translate a challenge into an innovative solution, leveraging the EXO attributes to create a significant impact in the world. She played a relevant role in building and enhancing the EXO community in LATAM and is a great role model to the rest of the OpenExO family. We then have Crystal from Vietnam, and she said, I had the fantastic opportunity to team up with Diana for almost 2 years on a project for empowering kids. Diana is just so passionate and dedicated, a very creative solution solver and a gamification expert of the team. I learned so much from Diana. Thank you, Diana, for this unforgettable time, and I look forward to collaborating with you in future projects. And then lastly, we have from Lars, Diana absorbs knowledge like a sponge, actually like an entire sponge factory. And she generously shares her insights, ideas, and new ways of connecting dots with the world around her. I'm lucky to be connected with her and benefiting from her work to make the world a place of hope and continuous self-actualization for everyone who meets her. And so with that, I want to welcome to the screen, Diana. How are you doing today in Miami?
Hi, Kev. Thank you very much for starting this way. It's such a warm up, such a beautiful warm up, and I want to thank you first, Gabriel, Crystal, and Lars. What a nice message to me. I really appreciate it, and Kev, you as well. I think just to get a little bit in the topic. One of the things I appreciate most about OpenExO is it's precisely that the opportunity to work and meet and grow and learn so much about the different people that are involved in this amazing community. So thank you for those beautiful messages. And I'm very well. I'm very happy, again, excited for the opportunity to be here. As you know, we've been knowing each other for quite some years now, and it's amazing how you keep getting when you're part of something that's so meaningful. So I'm very good. Thank you, Kev, for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure. So for those people who've never heard of Diana, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came into the OpenExO community back in the days of Beijing.
Thank you, Kev. Well, yes, my name is Diana. I am from Colombia, but I did grew up between different places. So I grew up between the States, China. I lived recently in Argentina, and now I'm in Barcelona. But I came across OpenExO in my times in China. At those times, I was doing my first startup in the education space. It was on my investor was actually pushing me to stay within the English learning space because it was very safe and it was a strong market. And within that space, I just really wanted to do something differently. One of the first things I realized was that the kids that actually spoke English, they learned it because they had a particular interest. So some of them like to play games, some of them like music, and because of that, their English would evolve. So I challenged myself to sort of like think about a different way, a more engaging way to learn English, and that led me to gamification, a lot of the things that I work in now. But particularly, I came up with the concept of learning English through project-based learning and entrepreneurship. So that was a learning challenge for me at the time, where I was looking at different tools, methodologies that were about how businesses were growing, and that led me to OpenExO. I found about Salim's book. And by the way, I still think it is one of the most relevant methodologies and tools out there. So I encourage you, if you haven't read the book, please read it. But yeah, at the time, it just made a lot of sense. I jumped in heads on because I wanted to apply it both to the kids, to the students, but also it made sense because of my previous work experience. My investors at the time was also head of a Beijing branch of a big tendering and procurement agency in China. And that's actually how we first came into contact. I really saw space for uniting both Guasin and OpenExO and seeing if we could open doors in China. So that's how it all started, and here we are. Six years in.
I when you posted that, I couldn't believe it. It feels just like the other day when we were chatting on WeChat.
Yeah. Right? It feels like it.
Although I looked at my phone, I'm like, I don't even have WeChat on this phone anymore. So it was many phones ago. So yeah, so obviously, with the EXO model, an MTP is really important. So can you share, what your personal MTP or MTPs are?
Yes, I would say my main MTP is to spread passion in life for everyone.
Okay.
Yes.
And how do you think you sort of practice that, day by day, in what you do?
Day by day. So I would say, let's say, socially speaking, I do better on one-on-one settings. And I think it's because I like to get to know people. I like to learn about what they're doing and what they enjoy. And with that comes also my I don't know, my interest in sharing when I come across something that I feel would be inspiring for someone on sharing that. That reminds me of a quote I like a lot from Abraham Maslow, who talks about growth. And he says that growth takes place when what we do is more delightful, more enjoyable than what we were used to before. And so I think I try to do that both, like, with my personal circle as well as professionally. It's to try to see, okay, if I come across something that I think you would find fun, that you will find exciting, and that you'll find gets you inspired again about living, about getting yourself out there, creating value. I like to do that. So yeah, I think I apply it personally, also professionally. I just recently finished some work with teachers. We were again in that space, trying to get them in the space of mind of, okay, how can I grow as a teacher in the education space? How can I make use of things so that I find my role more engaging in a continuous way? So yeah, I'd say I try to give, and I try to learn so I can give as well.
Awesome. I wanted to just quickly share, Nikki here on LinkedIn is just saying Diana is an early advisor for the 30 Doubling Challenge, which has evolved into the OpenExO experience. Great influencer in this woman. I'm always asking Nikki to share about people. So this time I didn't. Thank you so much, Nikki, for jumping in and sharing. Now, Diana, you do a lot of things, right? There's a lot of projects that you're part of, and working with all sorts of different people. But one of them, which I think is still in a bit of a stealth, so I don't know how much you can talk about, is HubTropolis. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Correct. I'll tell you all about it. HubTropolis is really a collective effort, is a global effort, really, to try to design, construct, and also function a city that unites both sustainability and abundance. And that's really something that struck me. Jerry, the founder, is a brilliant engineer, and I met him through my work with Crystal. Actually, his daughter was one of the students in our entrepreneurship project.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, the concept of I've liked the concept of cities for a long time. And when I was introduced to HubTropolis in particular, I love the fact that it unites this concept of sustainability and abundance. So if you think about cities right now, I think we're going in like two opposing poles, which is like we have on one end very fancy, luxurious cities that don't really cater to existential issues. Like we keep growing as cities, not only new cities, but existing cities. When we grow, we keep up taking 100% of the horizontal space, right? We're locking out nature. We are consuming resources, and we also have the opposing movement, right? That's saying, okay, let's throw away technology. Let's go live, like back in centuries ago. And so our challenge really is to say, hey, no, it's not necessary to have that opposing view, right? Like, let's come together and create something that unites both sustainability and abundance. And so that's what we're trying to do. Our current, most of the work we've done is going towards the infrastructure of the city. And so, for instance, 90%, up to 90% of the space is actually left protected and for nature to flow, which to me was one of the most significant advancements. So that's just one example, but I wanted to share it because it shows more or less that we're trying to push for something different, right? We're not trying to just create a new city. We're really trying to find a solution that's scalable and that really suits our needs as a society, a sustainable way to grow, that's still enjoyable and that still provides a more superior quality of life than the one we have right now.
Okay, and the project's been going for how long now?
Well, the project's been going for a long time. Jerry's been working on the technology concepts behind the city for more or less 20 years. So we have a lot of IP in different technology areas that we have in energy and mobility. But officially, the company has started to become a company more or less 2 years ago. That's when I got involved. And so now I just want to say, if this is something that's interesting to people, we're working really hard so that hopefully by the end of this year, early next year, we can provide an opportunity for people from different skills to come together and contribute to those different areas. Again, so we have set very aspiring goals for energy, mobility, data, and governance. And we hope that, again, people can come in and through projects contribute to seeing those ideas go from theoretical concepts to, operational solutions that provide value around the world. So, I mean, you're from South Africa. We're right now working on a large scale energy solution because I mean, there is that problem that countries want to switch to sustainable forms of energy, but it's very difficult to store and to distribute to the whole city. So that's one of the projects that we've been working towards, and that's actually getting to a real prototype in South Africa soon, and that we hope starts making a real impact. And so again, if you have an interest, cities encompass so many different things. So, if you have great ideas, come and just know that above all, we're a space for people to come together and design the future we want to create, really, right?
No, absolutely. And with obviously within the OpenExO community, we have a lot of people who are extremely interested in the sort of sustainability, regenerative agriculture, circular economy space. So yeah, I mean, it'll be great to connect with that, and yeah, the idea of thinking about things differently and looking at things in a different way. I think is one thing that's really awesome, and that essentially sort of takes what we often speak about is like an exponential mindset, right? It's really moving from just, I mean, there's like a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, but like there's this like exponential mindset, which is taking that further, right? Where it's like you actually saying, yeah, there can be abundance, and we can actually, make a difference. So, do you find that sort of in your day to day, and I mean, obviously that's the type of mindset you were using, right? In everything you do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I am very optimistic. I mean, I'm also in the education space, and I am really trying to set time apart to really engage people in these changes that we're seeing, right? And you know, there's this principle also from Maslow. I love him. And it's like we're all in this constant struggle where we have to choose between safety and growth, right? And unless growth is more appealing than our safety, we tend to lean towards safety. And so we really have to be mindful, and we have to be proactive into taking that risk of going outside of our comfort zone, right? And daring to find stuff that we find more exciting and more
Yeah.
meaningful. And so, yes, I am definitely, I think I would vote for having an exponential mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned how like education and open collaboration and experience design are like really three areas that you're passionate about, right? So you have projects that mix them and you do them all separately. Like, can you share a little bit more about these three areas?
Yes, I would love to. Well, I think that again, to highlight that education to me is perhaps not the right term, but it's I guess it's more on growth, and I think I am taking that role also within HubTropolis and within the work that I do, and it's always trying to say, okay, how can we create a space where people want to bring their whole self and where they can express themselves and feel more realized. Like I love self-determination theory. All of these comes from like behavioral science as well, right? I like gamification. I like all of these things. So I always try to apply them to the projects that I do. But I also consult on the side on each of these things. So let's say, for instance, that comes in many different forms. But recently, yesterday, actually, so it's been a heavy week, but I was working with 4 different teams that are currently in an EXO sprint. And so they are at the prototype stage, and I came in to help them because usually at that stage when we're prototyping or when we're building, I think we get in a mindset that's very much like function focused. So meaning, hey, how can we make it faster, cheaper, more scalable? And that's all questions that we need to ask and that they are imperative. But before that, especially when we're prototyping, we want to validate if there is an interest, right? So I come in with more of a human-centered approach, and I am like, okay, listen, we have to get to the core of what's going to motivate people to want to learn more about what you're doing, right? What is it really that is going to get their heart and their whole self in there? Because what we're looking for particularly are early adopters, right? You're really better off finding people who want to see you thrive, who want to see your project succeed, regardless of the fact that you haven't built it yet, right? And so a lot of the times it's scary for a lot of the teams to create a landing page with waiting list or request access space, because you're like, oh, I haven't built it and I still have to figure out all of the kind of like engineering aspects of the prototype and how am I going to promote it. And in reality, at the very beginning is not about that, right? It's about whether people do resonate with what you're trying to build, right? And it's a lot about trying to put that out there in the best way possible. And I think that's what I try to do with my work.
No, absolutely. That, I mean, doing anything sort of new and different is always pretty scary. And I think especially when you're working with teams, to acknowledge that is so important, right? That I don't think anyone who ever built anything, was not concerned that it may be a flop. Maybe there's people out there. I don't know, but I find that highly unlikely.
Yeah, no, and it is something that we have to deal with, right? So I do think that it helps. I think it helps that teams also relax a little bit in the sense of like, okay, it's okay to not know exactly how things are going to turn out, right? And it's really the purpose of this, to find out, not to to say, and we do it by trial and error. And I think I've failed enough to know, but it's always a great learning experience. And I think, yeah, above all, what we should focus is on ensuring that our message is right, and that we are sort of like getting people somewhere better, right? I think that's ultimately what any business is there for, right? To serve someone. And so, yeah, I guess our job as entrepreneurs is just finding out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, at the beginning, you were saying how the EXO model is something that very much stands the test of time. So, how would you say you're using it, and why it's important that organizations actually like understand the model?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me with the EXO model is that it's a structured process to prompt ourselves as businesses to really, again, as I've mentioned before, question how we can continuously grow. And I think the EXO model is one of the only models really that is so simple enough that it's just about, hey, let's question how we can leverage the abundance around us, right? And how we can use those changes that we're seeing to provide more value, right? To improve the value we already create, or to find new ways to create value for either our customers or new customers that we weren't targeting before, right? So it has that sort of like uh, very specific purpose that I love, that encompasses everything from like researching and finding out about all those things that I think makes a big change in the company's mindset, right? Is realizing that, hey, look, all of the things that we didn't know existed. But it also, comes with a lot of like advisors and people that are there to hold you through that process, and to really see how you can go from finding something interesting to actually seeing if there's interest about it, and ultimately potentially building a prototype. That's one of the later stages of the sprint. But I think it's that. I think we're, in this century, it's imperative that we are constantly questioning, again, how we can leverage the abundance around us.
Absolutely. Now, Diana, are you optimistic about the future?
No, I'm not. I'm just, I'm super optimistic about the future. I say it also with a pinch of salt, because I know nothing is like black and white, and I am also very concerned with the coming years. That's why I also spend a lot of my time actually talking with people. I lived in a lot of third world countries, and to me, it's really worrying, the fact that a lot of people have no idea of many of the things that are happening. Things that we assume, like, let's say, within our space, like ChatGPT, that we take it for granted. Even in Barcelona, I live in Barcelona right now, and my close circle, I play sports, I do a lot of things, and it's like the great majority of people have never used it. They don't know the potential it has, and it's not just that. It's like, as the OpenExO model says, there are so many different verticals, right, that are starting to grow. I mean, even coding and something that people see so far out of their space could soon, in some years, be something they can jump in right away, because all those layers are going away. You might not need to spend 4 years to learn how to be a C++ coder. You can speak to the computer in your own language, and it will understand and build something for you, right? So I think a lot of opportunities are coming up. I'm optimistic about the fact that now more people will be able to leverage these verticals and use them, hopefully, for good. But I think that's what it's all about, right? I think it's like the good ones are more than the ones that are perhaps have the wrong motivations. But it's a challenge still, and I think that not enough effort is being put into that, right? Into how can we start from now getting people comfortable with going out of their comfort zone and learning by error, right? And I mean, we see ourselves, humans, as so superior. I don't want to get too philosophical, right? But in reality, like, we haven't figured out a lot of things. I have some. I'll just share. I don't know if you've seen in Netflix the series Our Planet 2. this the new season. But in the second episode in particular, if you haven't seen it, I recommend you watching it. But it's about bees, and it's amazing to me how nature has just figured out how to survive and go through adversity. And that's something that we haven't figured out ourselves. But let's say bees are constantly outgrowing their homes, and they have to find new suitable homes. And so I think that's something that we're going through as society as well, where we have most of all outgrown our area of profession and expertise and where we're comfortable in. And now we need to figure out ways for how we can collectively find new homes, right? That we will outgrow again very soon, especially since the changes are coming so fast. But that,
Yes.
How can we collectively get to that point? And I mean, bees do it in a matter of hours, which if you haven't seen it, see it. The bees, they send explorers, and they each try to find different homes, and they come back to the beehive, and depending on how they have a little dance, and depending on how excited they dance, it means like, oh, I think this is a great home for us, right? And what they do is that, the ones that get touched by the dancing bee go out and verify whether it is a suitable home, right? So it's a collective effort. If one person goes out there, we're trying to find the challenges of bringing AI into education. There are hundreds of challenges. There are hundreds of potential dangers that are out there, right? But the only way that we can get to know, hey, what are the dangers? What are the suitable places for growing, right? Is by sharing those insights, going out there, coming back to our hive and saying, look, guys, I found this a great thing that I think you should try. And the more people that go out there and do this and share with others and try it, the more easy it is for us to migrate, right? To say, okay, well, things are changing, this doesn't work anymore, what does, right? And I think it's that, like, we have to get better at that. We have to learn how to navigate these changes. But I am very confident that we can, and I am very happy as well that we're growing, right? I think we're everything's getting better, and some things are not, but
No, absolutely. Diana, the time has run away, and so the last question that I have to ask, because I always ask it as the last question, is if there's just one thing that you could share today with folks as we end off the call, what is that one thing?
that one thing, yeesh, I think I had an answer, but I think it would be to have the courage to try things, like a lot of the times we hear about this thing that we think could be helpful, but we don't really do the trial ourselves. And I think that is very, very important, because it's the only way that we can, again, as I mentioned before, see if it's actually, something that can help us, or in reality, no, look, this is not the way. And then you can save hundreds of people as well the time and that frustration of going through the wrong path. But I think everybody needs to get a little bit out of their comfort zone and try new things, and again, read Maslow, perhaps. I mean, it's outdated, but I think he knew his stuff right from the very beginning, and so be happy to, right?
Awesome. I agree 100%. Diana, it's been wonderful chatting to you. I enjoy the time in Miami. I hope you get to have a bit of a break. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll chat to you again soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Kev. Have a great day, and it's
Awesome.
always lovely.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So great chatting to Diana there. And I'm going to end off today just with a little message. We have a 3-for-1 promotion happening in September, where if you buy 1 year of premium, you will get 3 years in total. And so head over to openexo.com to check that out. Otherwise, we'll see you all next week.